Okay, so here's the changes that I've made to the new match report. So first off, I've added this, which is going to look up the team logo once you put the team name into here, so you won't need to paste the team logo image into here anymore. I've changed this. Instead of match week, I just shortened it to week, and then this will be whatever week we're on. Like, for example, right now we're on week 7. And then player rosters, unchanged. If you double click on the cells, it'll open up a drop down list with all the players. So you can just start typing in any player, and then it should auto complete. For skills and archetypes, once you open up the drop down list, I've set it so the top 10 to 15 most commonly used decks will be on top, and then followed by the rest of the decks ordered alphabetically. Whoever's in charge, somebody in charge of analyst chat will be, the analyst team will be in charge of making sure the 10 to 15 decks are up to date. As for the skills, same thing. 10 to 15 most commonly used skills, and followed by the rest of the skills here. And then this is all referenced from the drop-down list sheet. So you can add the new commonly used decks and skills here, and the rest of the skills here. And then when you add a new one, you can example, you can go and hit sort, and then that'll put it into alphabetical order. It doesn't need to be in alphabetical order. It just looks nicer that way. So it'll pull the deck names and skills from here. You can just keep adding. I have it set for column A and column B for player names and Discord IDs that are missing. So for example, if we have a player on Abusement Park and we can't find him in the drop-down list, we type his name like Tenma or something, right? We want to check that there is no similarly named player. So we can do that by checking over here to see if they're on here. If they're not, then we want to go over to this cell. So it'll be wherever. So for example, we want to find Abusement Park, a player on Abusement Park. So it'll be here, and then in the cell 2 columns to the left of it, there will be the sheet containing the database of the player names and Discord IDs. So you want to go over to that one, go to that link. Oh, and duplicate decks, skills, names, and IDs will be highlighted here. Then you just go to the corresponding sheet. And add the player and ID here. If we try to add a duplicate that's already there, it's going to highlight it in yellow. But it won't be able to check for things like these. So this kind of thing you'll have to do manually. And it'll also check for IDs. What else? The instructions to how to get the IDs are here. Oh, and I may add a new sheet for free agents. So players that were on teams but left teams, we can put them there if the team runs out of space in their in the 25 players that they're allowed, that I've set them to, that I've given them the space for. If they can't fit in that space, then you can put them on the free agent sheet. But I don't think we have to do that right now because most teams haven't hit that limit yet. What else? Okay, so back to the match reports sheet. So other things that I've added are this for mirroring the win and loss state. So if this is win, this is loss. I also have the auto completion here, so we change this to loss. This will automatically change to win. And you can also put like DQ win, DQ loss should appear here. But the thing to note about these is that after you take the match report, you want to change these back to regular wins and losses. So you'll want to fill in the score on the left hand side, and then the right hand side will mirror it. If you want to bypass this, you can just delete it and then just fill in this, and then just do this manually. It works the same, it's just that it breaks the formatting a little bit. So if you've copied like for example, if we do match report and let's say I changed this to W, and then somebody else goes and duplicates this sheet, then their version is going to have something that isn't going to have the formula in this row. So that's why it's always best to copy duplicate directly from match report master, which should not have that problem. Okay, let me just fix this back up. Okay, so that's that. So I've added in a new function to help automate calculation of division standings, and also for playoff calculations. So what it's gonna do is it's this match results aggregate sheet. What this does is that it will it pulls there's a lot of things here, but basically what it does is that this formula, it will pull the information of these selected rows and columns, and then it'll adjust the formatting so then it fits as text and also in one cell, and then it'll output it as so this is team 1. Team 1 is the left side team. If they won or lost, their round win for that match, round loss for that match, who they played against. This is for the head-to-head calculation when the 10 weeks end and playoffs start. Here is the week, and then this is just if there's, it counts one win if this is W, and then one loss if this is L. So yeah, basically it just extracts that information, and then it, for each week there is a formula that'll calculate it. Weeks 1 to 6 are using an old formula. Starting from week 7 is the formula that's general and can be applied to all following weeks. And I've already generated, match reports for week 7 to 10 already. So all you have to do is go here, unhide the match you want to find, and then fill that sheet in. You don't need to duplicate from match report master. If you do that, then there'll be two with the there's going to be an error first of all with two of the same name, and it's best not to rename them, because the ones that I've set already all have references to other sheets. So instead of changing the names of these ones, what you want to do is paste the data into it. So for example, let's say you already have let's say this sheet is done, okay, and you realized that there was already another match report that sheet created that it was already supposed to be in. Instead of renaming the one that is currently not named correctly, you want to go and you just go and copy and paste in the information here. Same, you can just paste in the roster, and then let's go and you want to go up to row 121. So here, so 121 is where if a team goes to 10 and 9, they'll be at 121. So that's the maximum range that this will go to. Okay, so if you go further than row 121, that's where we start getting errors, because this is actually reserved for the W score. So yeah, so you want to go and paste this part up to 121, copy, and paste it into here, the one with the correct name. And yeah, so let's revert this back. Okay. So that's that. So yeah, it'll pull the data from here, and then it'll aggregate them here. And then for each week, there is a function here. So to change it to map it to a new week. So for example, if we want to change it to because right now it's set to work for week 7, games 1 to 16. So let's say we want to have it work for week 8. I've already done week 8, so we won't have to do that. But we will want to use a text editor. I'm using Notepad++. This is just basically a fancier version of Notepad, but it can highlight syntax. So you can use any text editor you want. Like the default Notepad should work fine too. Just don't use Word for it. So paste this in here, and then so I went and went to language, Visual Basic. This will highlight the syntax, and let's just expand this out. So what this does is actually what it does. I'll just explain it in simpler terms. Basically, what it does is that it copies this information and pastes it into here, but then before pasting it, it does a query and removes all the information that we don't need. Okay, so here to this part is for just catching the error. If there is an error with one of these sheets, so week whatever, game 1 to 16, the sheet is not found. So if the sheet is not found, then we'll want to locate the missing sheet and then replace it with what we're looking for. Okay, so if we want to update it for week 8, what we'll do is we'll go into find and replace, and then we want to replace week 7 with week 8, and you just want to turn these two on, match case and wraparound, and then you just go hit replace all, and then you'll see all the week 8s all the week 7s have been changed to week 8s. Just go here, select all, copy, and then you can paste it into the cell for week 8, like that. Oh, I'll just paste it into the cell for week 8. There we go. Yeah. So as you see here, it pulls the week correctly, and I've highlighted the cells that have the formula with yellow highlighting. So yeah, that's basically how it works to update for the weeks. I've done it for weeks 1 to 10 already. Once you hit the playoffs, the playoff names should be playoffs round 1, then quarterfinals, then semifinals, then grand finals. So there's a naming scheme for that. On the side here, what it shows is the this column B here, and a count of the teams. This basically is team number of times played. Teams number of times played. Here is the placeholder team. This is just a blank. So for here, you can control the week. So for example, if we want to check how many teams played in week 1, select this, week 1. So we see that 32 teams played in week 1. That's great. So we know that this is correct, and that we have all 32 of the match reports completed successfully, because all 32 teams are on here. So let's go and undo that. And then you can also filter by team to see what we're missing. You can also use this to check for errors in naming of teams. So for example, I've seen a common one, which is they went and so this cell is basically a copy of this. So whatever is entered here will be copied down here, right? But I've had some people ignore my validations, enter whatever they want into these boxes, and as a result, a common thing that they would do is change the naming of chillin with chilla. Like they might forget the apostrophe, or change maybe the W to a capital, or something like that. But either way, if it's not this exact name, then it'll show up as a different team. So we don't want that. So that's why I've set the validation here, and it'll copy it down to the bottom. Okay, so that's basically it for how it works on this page, on this match reports sheet. I'll talk about this more in detail, how the division standings calculations work, once we get to the player records. So right now what we have is a match week master. So each week there's going to be we take the match reports, and we use a formula, and this will extract rows D84 to W121, which is basically this section. This section of the match reports. There's also this part, which is basically the mirror of this, but for the other teams. So for example, if this side is team 1, this side would be team 2. And it's formatted starting from the left to from left to right, basically. Basically, the significance of this is we want to put the team 1 want to put all their scores in first, and so this is for example, this match is between RCF and Garuda. Okay, what we want to do is that we want to make it consistent. So this is without having to basically this is just how I've set it. So it'll paste week, team 1 name, team 1 ID, team 1 player, team 1 skill, team 1 archetype, team 1 score, right? And then what happens here is this will be team 2 name, team 2 ID, team 2 player, team 2 skill, team 2 archetype, team 2 score. So it basically takes this part and then it folds it over here. So this is basically a mirror. This part mirrors this part, and then this part mirrors this part. So we have it's so the locations are consistent, and then so we can we capture every match. So for example, we capture a loss on this side, and then we capture a loss on this side, so it'll repeat like this. So it's basically like accounting. So you have credits and debits. The point of this is not basically this is just how the format works, and how it works in pivot tables. So yeah, so that's how it's mirrored. So that's where the data is captured, and then I could have made a temporary array, and if I made a temporary array, it would look really messy, something like this. So this takes up less space, but it looks really messy. So what I've done instead for the most of the match reports is that this part is actually hidden. It's actually just basically a mirror image of this, but for the opposite team. So you see this part is 10-0. This part is mirrored 0-10. So this is basically for the other team. I'll hide that back. And then over on this side, this is to track the week, which team is playing, and the score. Sorry, not the score. The ID of the player. So this looks up the ID of the player in this row, and this is just copying down the information from there. Okay. And this part is basically controlling from week to team 2 player. From here, we have a separate section for wins and losses for calculating. It changes W to a 1, and the reason for this is to because you guys said that you guys didn't want so when there would be something blank, Google Sheets counts it as 0, but graphically it still looks blank here. And you guys said you guys didn't like that, so now I have it as 1s and 0s. So when you go over to where is it? Player records, maybe. So like for example, if they had no losses, this would be blank, right? Now instead of blank, it'll say 0, like this. Before this would be 2 blank 1, like 2 wins, blank losses, 1 played. Now it'll say 2 wins, 0 losses, 1 played. It's the same thing, but you guys just didn't like that formatting, so I changed it. So this it'll be copied down. So I copied this down, I think, until like cell 500 or something. So you shouldn't need to change it. If it breaks at some point, all you have to do is copy the formula down. And then it should match for the following rows. What else? Okay, I think this is done with that. And then I also added another step here for just error checking. So one of the things that's very common is that they will go and here maybe like data validation, and then just go hit remove validation, and then they enter whatever in they want, right? Then it's going to show up as something different from the skills or archetypes that we have. It's different. So what we want to do here is that with the error checking sheet, you want to target the week that you want to check. So range, select the sheet, row A to let's say M. Okay. And then so this is checking week 6. And then you want to do the same thing for the skill and the archetype tables. So for the archetype tables and skills, I didn't set filters. This is going to show every archetype and every skill used for the respective week. So you can look through here to see if there's like something weird, like duplicates or something weird going on here. Here shows Team 1 archetype, Team 1 skill versus Team 2 archetype, Team 2 skills with wins, loss, totals, and win rates here. This is just used for reference because the actual meta-analysis calculation will be done on a separate sheet, but you can use this for just checking individual ones manually. This does not exclude the mirrors. These include the mirror matches, so you just have to watch out for that. For here, so this is targeting week 6 masters. So in here for weeks, the only week that should show up here is week 6, because that's the week that you selected. If for some reason someone did not update this to the correct week for that match report, this and let's say for week 6 game 1, there's at the top that cell says week 7 instead of week 6, then you'll get 2 different kinds. You'll have week 6 and you'll have week 7, which is not correct because this should only contain the week 6 master. So all data in week 6. Here it shows archetypes. You can just hit select all. Here shows all skills. And then you can also filter by skills and archetypes. For here, team name. This is just like extra filters, but mainly the things that you want to check that this week section is correct. So it means all the weeks were entered, all the report this cell was entered correctly. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and you also want to make sure these two match. If it doesn't match, then we might have a problem that it's not counting a certain skill or archetype. That can happen if, for example, oh, I really don't want to do it on the, let's find an old one to do it on. Week 1, game 1. If we, I don't know, we do this. Right, then this is gonna break the formatting, and then that's gonna cause errors to this. Or if for some reason we went and merged these rows together, yes. Or we went and we just went and deleted this row. Yeah, and then that's going to cause tons of errors because this not only affects this side, it also affects whatever happens on this. So you see all these errors popping up. So that's why try not to touch those. So yeah, see, this is done correctly. It's just, this is hiding the unused cells. I honestly don't think that you really need to hide it. If you keep them all at the same size, then everyone's screenshots will have the same size, so I feel like that's kind of better than hiding them. But whatever you guys like to do, just don't delete rows and columns. So yeah, that's how it works. This is how the error checking sheet works. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's basically all that I have to talk about for the match reports sheet. Then we're going to go over to the player records. I'm just gonna end this video here and then start a new one.